Capitalism for thee, socialism for me. Is that what is happening in the United States today? Watch today's episode to find out. Hey everyone, it's Spencer Hakimian and welcome back to another episode of What's Moving Your Money with Forbes. On today's episode, we are going to be covering the bailout of farmers in the United States due to the troubles of tariffs. Then we're going to be talking about the essential bailout of Argentina due to the economic struggles that they are having under Javier Milei. And finally, we're going to end off this episode talking about Bitcoin and are we seeing a pullback in liquidity and what that could possibly foretell for markets in the coming weeks. So sit back tight and I hope you guys enjoy. So we're living in a very unique circumstance right now where we have the president and Congress openly telling us that they are most likely going to have to bail out farmers yet again. Now, if you go back to previous episodes, I was warning about this for months because if you looked at crop yield, if you look at the amount of prices that they were getting, these farmers, and if you look at their volume to their main export markets of China and Brazil, this was just, you put it on a napkin, you did some basic math, it was inevitable. And now it's here. So I guess this is a benefit of watching this show. We can tell when bailouts are happening way before conventional wisdom catches up to us. But I want to ask you guys a question. Do you guys think that a bailout of farmers is fair? Right? This is not the first time that farmers have been bailed out. Right? This exact same thing happened back in 2018 because of the exact same policy of tariffs. Tariffs are anti-growth and pro-inflation. That is a combination that kills farmers historically. Yet, this was a policy that was popular in the 2024 election and ultimately caused that man that was pushing on those policies to win. So I want to know, do you guys think it is fair that farmers get another bailout here? Or maybe, should they not be given a bailout so they see the consequences of these choices that most of the country keeps voting for? I want to know your thoughts, so please let me know in the comments what you think about that. Now, another bailout story is Argentina is going to need a swap line from the United States. Now, I want to make this real simple. A swap line is basically an agreement that we send dollars over to Argentina for the time being. And the purpose of that is to stop the depreciation of their currency and to make sure they do not default on their dollar-denominated debt, right? But what ends up happening is that in theory, this should stabilize the Argentinian economy from the natural market forces that are pushing Argentina's economy down. And eventually, Argentina will be able, in theory, to pay us back for that loan that we handed out to them. Now, something here that's really interesting to me is at the beginning of this administration, Argentina was championed as this libertarian, free market, you're on your own, pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of economic story. And only 6 months later, their austerity has been so severe and so ineffective that they already need a bailout from the United States. And if you don't want to call it a bailout, fine. But I call it a bailout because in the event they do not get these dollars, they would go insolvent. So of course it's a bailout. It is stopping insolvency. That is, to me, the very definition of what a bailout is. So look, we look at these things, and again, I have the same questions as I had for the farmers. Is this something we should be intervening in, right? These are people that they themselves chose to go about this economic path. They themselves chose this way forward. Honestly, against some of the better advice of some of the most profound economists, finance people, and market participants in the world. And this is the result. Should they be bailed out for this? Or should they be not bailed out so that they actually see the consequences of their choices? You know, I analogize this of if you always bail your kid out when he or she does something silly growing up, how can you ever expect them to learn? One of the ways that humans learn over time is by feeling the pain of their own choices. Now, I'm not saying anyone should starve. I'm not saying we should let this get out of control. But do they really already need a bailout from the United States this quickly into Milei's term? I wonder, and I want you guys to let me know as well. So to round out today's episode, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin and the price signals that Bitcoin is sending into the market right now, and ultimately what this can mean for other asset classes, other bigger asset classes to be frank, like this S&P 500, the gold market, the bond market, the commodity market, you name it. So look, Bitcoin has been in this kind of air pocket for the past couple of weeks where it has simply been going down relentlessly. There have been very few green days for Bitcoin in the last 10 days or so. And if you go back to 2021, November of 2021, it was Bitcoin that first warned us that the mega rally of 2021 was getting exhausted, that buyers were just no longer coming to the table. If you recall, there was a Friday night in November of 2021 where Bitcoin had fallen by 20%. And just a few short months later, we saw that exact same thing happen in the equity market, also on a Monday in January. So I'm wondering, honestly, is this temporary sell-off in Bitcoin, is it a sign of something bigger, or is it a sign of we are just getting a regular sell-off in the crypto market and this too shall pass and we will be better in a few weeks from now? My personal opinion is that this rally, across asset rally, has gone a little too far and a little too fast, and it is due for a correction. Now, correction can only mean 5, 10, 12%. It doesn't have to mean we have to fall 20, 25% here. I actually do not think that is the base case. Personally, I think you only fall 20, 25% and beyond when you get a brand new catalyst, a negative catalyst in the market. Liquidity is not a catalyst on its own. It is a symptom, but it isn't a catalyst. Nonetheless, I want to hear you and your guys' takes about what is happening here, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. Thank you guys.